Did you know a wider war in the Middle East could potentially tip the global economy into recession? Now that's a statement that's guaranteed to make anyone sit up and take notice. It's not just about a region of the world experiencing conflict. It's about the ripple effects of that conflict that could potentially spill over into the global economy. This topic is of immense importance and understanding. It is crucial, whether you're an economist crunching numbers in a corporate skyscraper, a politician in a government office, or a college student just beginning to understand the complexities of the world. It's a topic that touches us all, in one way or another. We live in a world where economies are not isolated entities but interconnected webs. A tug on one string, and the entire web vibrates. And a wider war in the Middle East? That's not just a tug, it's a yank that could send shockwaves across this global web. Now you might be wondering, why would a conflict in the Middle East have such a global impact? Well, the Middle East is not just any region, it's a region that holds a significant portion of the world's oil reserves. A disturbance here could cause fluctuations in oil prices, which in turn could affect everything from your grocery bills to the overall health of economies worldwide. But it's not just about oil. The Middle East is also a crucial geopolitical region, a crossroads between the East and the West. Any major conflict here could have far-reaching political and economic consequences, affecting trade routes, alliances, and global power dynamics. This is a topic of such gravity and complexity that it deserves our undivided attention. It's not just about understanding the world we live in, it's about anticipating the world we might wake up to tomorrow. So let's dive deep into this complex issue and unravel the potential economic impact of a wider war in the Middle East. To understand this, we first need to comprehend the economic structure of the Middle East. The Middle East is not just a region marked by historical significance and rich cultural heritage, but it is also a vital cog in the global economic machinery. At the heart of this economic structure is the production and export of oil. The Middle East is home to the world's largest proven oil reserves. Countries like Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, and the United Arab Emirates are key players in this industry, with their economies heavily reliant on oil revenues. To give you a sense of the scale, Saudi Arabia alone is responsible for about 1 in every 4 barrels of oil produced worldwide. This dominance in oil production places the Middle East at the center of the global energy market. The oil extracted from its ground fuels not just our cars but also our industries, our power plants, and to an extent our economies. It's not an exaggeration to say that the rhythm of the world economy dances to the beat of the Middle East's oil drums. But the Middle East's economic structure is not just about oil. The region also has a significant role in the global trade of goods and services. From the Suez Canal in Egypt that serves as a critical shipping lane to Dubai's bustling ports, the Middle East is interwoven into the fabric of global commerce. However, this economic structure is vulnerable. It's like a house of cards, and a wider war could be the gust of wind that topples it over. The disruption of oil production and export, the obstruction of trade routes, the destruction of infrastructure, all these could send shockwaves through the global economy, potentially tipping it into a recession. Now that we have a basic understanding, we can see how a wider war could potentially disrupt this structure. A wider war in the Middle East could create a domino effect that would ripple through the global economy. Now let's break this down. Imagine the dominoes as a chain of events that could be triggered by a potential conflict in the Middle East. The first domino to fall would likely be a disruption in oil production. The Middle East is home to some of the world's largest oil producers. In fact, the region holds more than half of the world's oil reserves. So any instability there could seriously hamper oil production and exports. And when oil production takes a hit, it's like pushing the next domino in line. This leads to the second domino falling, a global energy crisis. Countries around the world rely heavily on oil for energy. If there's a shortage, it's not just the Middle East that will feel the pinch. It's everyone from the bustling cities of America to the remote villages in India. Now, as the energy crisis intensifies, we move to the third domino, rising oil prices. As the law of supply and demand tells us, when supply decreases and demand remains the same, prices go up. So if oil production decreases, the price of oil will skyrocket. And here comes the fourth domino. With oil prices soaring, inflation starts to creep in. Everything from your morning cup of coffee to your commute to work becomes more expensive. The cost of living goes up and economies start to wobble. Finally, the last domino, economic instability leading to a global recession. When costs rise and economies falter, the result can be a downward spiral into recession. It's the final domino that falls, but its impact is felt by everyone, everywhere. So it's not just about the Middle East, it's about the entire global economy. This domino effect shows how interconnected our world is. A conflict in one region can send shockwaves that reverberate around the globe. It's a reminder that in our globalized world, we're all in this together. But what does this mean for us, the average people? You might be wondering. Well, let's delve into the potential human impact of a wider war in the Middle East. Firstly, let's talk about jobs. As the economy takes a hit, businesses, big and small, feel the pinch. This results in job losses, as companies struggle to keep afloat. Imagine one day you're working a 9-to-5, and the next, you're handed a pink slip. It's a harsh reality many could face. Then there's the increased cost of living. With escalating tensions in the Middle East, the price of oil could skyrocket. Now you might be thinking, I don't drive, so what? But remember, oil doesn't just fuel our cars, it fuels our economies. It's used in transportation, manufacturing, and even in producing that morning cup of coffee we all love. As the cost of oil rises, so does the cost of virtually everything else. Your weekly grocery bill? Higher. Your utility bills? Higher. The price tag on that new pair of shoes you've been eyeing? You guessed it. Higher. And let's not forget about social instability. Economic downturns can lead to social unrest. People start to worry about their future, their children's future, and that anxiety can manifest in protests, civil unrest, even violence. It's a ripple effect that can disrupt the social fabric of communities and nations. But here's the thing. While this paints a bleak picture, it's not set in stone. It's a potential scenario, a warning of what could happen if things escalate in the Middle East. It's a call for us to understand the complexities of our global economy and the profound impact distant conflicts can have on our daily lives. So, the potential economic impact of a wider war in the Middle East could be felt in our daily lives. Remember, we're all in this together, and understanding these impacts is the first step in navigating the uncertain waters that lie ahead. But there's more to this than just economics. You see, the ripples caused by a wider war in the Middle East wouldn't just be felt in the stock markets and corporate boardrooms. They'd echo through the halls of power, shaking the very foundations of the political landscape. Governments could be destabilized, alliances tested, and new power blocks might emerge from the chaos. Consider this. We're not just dealing with a potential economic recession here. We're looking at a possible shift in the geopolitical balance. The aftershocks of such an event could be felt for generations to come. But let's not stop there. The social implications could be just as dramatic. Imagine a surge in conflict, a swell in the tide of hostility and violence, communities torn apart, families displaced, and all this could exacerbate the economic impact, creating a vicious circle that's hard to break. Consider the human cost of displacement, the loss of homes, livelihoods, and a sense of security, the scramble for resources, the strain on services in host countries, and the potential for social unrest. This is a human tragedy, wrapped in an economic crisis, inside a geopolitical quandary. And then there's the question of international relations. How would the world react? Would there be a scramble to fill power vacuums, or a collective effort to restore peace and stability? The diplomatic chessboard could be thrown into disarray, with every move having far-reaching implications. It's a complex, multifaceted issue, with each aspect feeding into and amplifying the others. The economic, political, and social implications are intertwined in a web of cause and effect that's difficult to untangle. So, the potential impacts are far-reaching and complex. This is the bigger picture, a picture that paints 1,000 words, each more daunting than the last, but it's a picture we need to understand to navigate the uncertain waters ahead. So, what does the future hold? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The complexity of the situation in the Middle East, coupled with its potential global implications, makes predicting the future as easy as catching smoke with your bare hands. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast desert, with nothing but shifting sands as far as the eye can see. That's what looking into the future of this situation feels like. The sands of time and circumstance are constantly shifting, changing the landscape of possibilities with every passing moment. This uncertainty is a significant player in the potential economic impact of a wider war in the Middle East. You see, economies thrive on stability and predictability. Investors, businesses, consumers, they all want to know what's coming so they can plan and strategize accordingly. But when uncertainty enters the picture, it's like throwing a wrench into the gears of a well-oiled machine. Suddenly, investors are hesitant, businesses are cautious, and consumers are apprehensive. This collective hesitation can slow down economic activity, leading to stagnation or even recession. It's like a game of dominoes where one falling piece can set off a chain reaction, toppling piece after piece until the whole structure comes crashing down. Now imagine this domino effect on a global scale. That's the potential economic impact we're talking about. It's not just about the Middle East or the countries directly involved in the conflict. It's about the ripple effects that could touch every corner of the globe, affecting economies and lives far removed from the epicenter of the conflict. So the future is a vast, uncertain desert. The sands are shifting and we can't predict exactly where they'll settle. But one thing we know for sure is that the potential economic impact of a wider war in the Middle East is uncertain but significant. This is a complex issue with far-reaching implications. We've taken quite a journey together today, discussing the shocking possibility of a wider war in the Middle East and the repercussions it could have on the global economy. It's a tangled web of geopolitics, economics, and human lives, and we've only begun to unravel it. Remember the domino effect? One event triggering another, leading to a cascade of consequences. In our interconnected world, a conflict in one region can send shockwaves through the global economy. Every domino that falls, from oil prices skyrocketing to global trade routes disrupted, could inch us closer to a worldwide recession. But it's not just about numbers and statistics, it's about the human impact, the lives disrupted, and the societies destabilized. The ripple effects of a wider war in the Middle East would touch every corner of the globe, affecting us all in ways we may not even realize. We've also looked at the bigger picture, the geopolitical chessboard on which these events are unfolding, the alliances and rivalries, the power plays and diplomatic gambits. All these factors could shape the outcome of this potential crisis. And the future? It's uncertain, as always. But by understanding the stakes and the potential outcomes, we can better prepare ourselves for whatever comes next. This is a complex issue, and it's easy to feel overwhelmed. But remember, knowledge is power. The more we understand, the better equipped we are to navigate these uncertain times. If you found this video informative and want to stay updated on this issue, subscribe to our channel. Let's navigate these complex issues together.